1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. It's Friday, and it's time for the news, reported honestly and fairly. We analyze that news for fact and bias. We point out both. In short, we de-propagandize the mainstream media. We make commentary. That's not news. Commentary is opinion, both yours and mine, and so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. It is the Wells Report. Thanks very much for joining us. We certainly hope that you like this broadcast. Give us those thumbs ups. Make sure you share it with your friends. If you find value in this broadcast, by all means, share it with your friends. Subscribe. Ask them to subscribe. And if you'd like to support the show financially, by all means, go to patreon.com/The Wells Report. You can subscribe and throw us a couple of bucks. That'd be really, really nice. Sure would appreciate it. And welcome to the Wells Report. Time now for the front page. That is a digest of news since yesterday's broadcast and while we were asleep. Tragic news out of Iowa. A sixth grader was killed. 5 other people were injured when a gunman opened fire at a high school in Perry, Iowa. This happened yesterday. USA Today reports that officials said the gunman was also dead of what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. During a news conference, Dallas County Sheriff Adam Infante said the shooting was first reported at 7:37 a.m., shortly before classes at Perry High School were set to begin. Deputies were on the scene within 7 minutes. The 5 people injured included 4 students and an administrator, according to the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation Assistant Director Mitch Morvet. 4 were stable. 1 was in critical condition, but was indeed expected to survive, said Morvet. Officials did not identify the student victims of the attack. The school administrator was later identified by his alma mater as Perry High School principal, Dan Marburger. Morvet said the suspect, identified as Dylan Butler, 17 years of age, was a student at Perry High School. Butler was armed with a pump-action shotgun and a small caliber handgun. A missing 16-year-old has been found thanks to World of Warcraft. This from USA Today. Investigators were able to locate a Florida man suspected of bringing a 16-year-old girl across state lines with the help of a video game. The FBI sought assistance from Marion County Sheriff's Office detectives. This happened day before yesterday to help locate a missing teenage girl from Ohio. This according to a social media post by the department. The detective was able to track the girl to a residence in Dunalon, that's over 70 miles north of Tampa, with the help from her World of Warcraft account. On the same day, deputies were contacted by the Bureau. The information the detective gathered led them to the residence of a 31-year-old man who was also accessing his online gaming account from that location. Israel-Hamas, still in the news. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is there as a part of a multi-nation trip to the Middle East as the risk of a regional conflict begins to loom large while the war in Gaza rages on. The top U.S. diplomat will travel to Jordan, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Israel, the West Bank, and Egypt, as well as Turkey and Greece. It's Blinken's 4th trip to the region since the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. On the agenda, according to the State Department spokesperson Matt Miller, they will discuss immediate measures to increase substantial humanitarian assistance in Gaza, stress the need to expand and sustain safe access for humanitarian organizations to deliver food, water, medicine, as well as for commercial goods to enter all areas of Gaza. They will also discuss with Israeli officials their plans to transition to the next phase of operations in that war-torn Gaza Strip, also discussing steps Israel can take to better protect civilians and how to enable Palestinians to return to their homes and neighborhoods. Stressing to the Israeli government the need to do more to lower tensions in the West Bank. And also, Secretary of State Blinken will discuss the return of hostages held by Hamas, talking through key topics of trying to stem the spread of the conflict, including specific steps parties can take to include how they can use their influence with others in the region to avoid escalation, raising the need to take steps to deter Houthi attacks against commercial shipping in the Red Sea, and discussing the plans for the day after the Gaza conflict concludes. ISIS has claimed credit for Iran suicide bombings. This from USA Today. The Islamic State claimed responsibility yesterday for 2 bombings that killed dozens at a remembrance for a slain general in Iran, the latest development to rock the Middle East amid the chaos caused by the Hamas-Israeli war. Israel and its chief ally, the U.S., have been grappling with repeated assaults from Iran-backed militant groups such as Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen as they attempt to keep the war from spreading. An Israeli link to Wednesday's suicide attacks in the central Iran city of Kerman, where at least 84 people were killed, more than 280 wounded, had the potential to provoke Iranian retaliation and further destabilize the region. In fact, Iran blamed Israel for those suicide bombs, only to be countermanded or counterclaimed by ISIS. The European Union's chief diplomat, Josep Borrell, said this week he fears the Middle East could become engulfed in flames. The Epstein list still in the news today. A-list celebrities have been mentioned in the document release. This from Fox News. Leonardo DiCaprio, Bruce Willis, Michael Jackson among the A-list celebrities' names that appear in a trove of newly released documents relating to Virginia Jeffries' lawsuit against Jeffrey Epstein's former lover and accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. Epstein had many high-profile connections, including former U.S. presidents, foreign prime ministers, and Britain's Prince Andrew, as well as Hollywood stars, leading academics, people in modeling and fashion, and other public figures. Some of the names were previously known through other means, despite having been withheld from the public eye in lawsuits. Many of the names belong to people who have not been accused of wrongdoing. Prison releases in the news today. This from South Africa. Oscar Pistorius has been released on bail. This being reported by CNN. Oscar Pistorius, the amputee, Paralympic, and Olympic sprinter, was released from prison on parole today, more than a decade after shooting his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp, in a killing that shocked the world. A parole board granted Pistorius' position in November on the grounds that he had served half of his 13-year sentence for murdering Steenkamp, making him eligible according to South African law. Singabako Nuxmalo, a spokesperson for South Africa's Department of Correctional Services, the DCS, told CNN that Pistorius was released from Atteridgeville Correctional Center west of Pretoria. This happened this morning. He will be subject to parole conditions until his sentence expires in 2029. Also, Kennedy cousin Michael Skakel had his conviction overturned, is now suing his hometown and the investigators that put him in jail put him in jail for 11 years. 6 years after his murder conviction and the death of 15-year-old Martha Moxley was overturned, Michael Skakel is now suing the Connecticut hometown and investigators for allegedly withholding evidence that may have spared him serving 11 years in jail. The Kennedy family cousin, nephew to Robert F. Kennedy's widow, Ethel Skakel Kennedy, named as defendants in the town of Greenwich Police Department, the Connecticut Attorney's Office, and the detective who headed the 1975 probe into Moxley's bludgeoning death. For a sensationalized Kennedy cousin murder he did not commit, he was given 11 and a half years of his life in jail. This according to his attorney, Stephen Seeger, who told the local newspaper, the Greenwich Times. The Connecticut Supreme Court overturned Skakel's 2002 conviction in 2018 after he had served more than 11 years in prison on the grounds that his attorney failed to represent or present evidence of an alibi on his behalf. A state prosecutor announced 2 years later that Skakel would not be retried and that charges against him had been dropped, this being reported by the Associated Press. 2024 election news. Nikki Haley used an Iowa town hall to do a bit of damage control, this being reported by USA Today. Put on the defensive by a CNN anchor, Haley again said she made a mistake when she omitted slavery as a cause for the U.S. Civil War in the 1860s. Haley said, quote, "I was thinking past slavery and focused on how to move forward with dealing with racism." She again discussed her removal of the Confederate flag from the South Carolina State House following the 2015 mass shooting of black churchgoers in Charleston. Quote, "If you grow up in South Carolina, literally in second and third grade, you learn about slavery. You grow up and you have black friends growing up. It's a very talked about thing." Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida works to clarify what sets him apart. This also from USA Today. Republican presidential candidate Ron DeSantis, once thought to be the person that could take the GOP nomination away from Donald Trump. But as of late, Florida governor is struggling to keep hold of second place. DeSantis has been eclipsed in some surveys by former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who turned heads of voters still searching for an alternative to Trump. "I think it's clear," DeSantis said during a CNN town hall yesterday, "Donald Trump is running for his issues. Nikki Haley is running for her donors' issues. I, Ron DeSantis, I'm running for your issues." DeSantis exuded confidence, was relaxed in an hour-long CNN town hall with a week and a half before the pivotal Iowa caucuses. Chris Christie, for his part, being reported by USA Today, he's a vocal critic of Donald Trump, said in a new 1-minute ad released yesterday that it was a mistake to endorse the former president in 2016. Christie, looking directly at the camera, said this, quote, "I have an admission to make. 8 years ago, when I decided to endorse Donald Trump for president, I did it because he was winning. I did it because I thought I could make him a better candidate and a better president. Well, I was wrong. I made a mistake," unquote. Christie repeatedly bashed Trump on the campaign trail and in interviews, calling him self-centered and a loser, and attacked his GOP rivals, including former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, for not directly confronting Donald Trump. And finally, on this edition of the front page, CNN Business is reporting that Neri Oxman, an academic and wife of billionaire investor Bill Ackman, plagiarized parts of her doctoral dissertation at MIT. This according from Business Insider. Ackman has become one of the most prominent critics, amplifying a series of accusations, including plagiarism, against Harvard's former leader, Claudine Gay, who resigned this week. The Business Insider report, which CNN could not independently verify, said that Oxman, quote, "plagiarized multiple paragraphs of her 2010 doctoral dissertation." The report found at least one passage directly lifted from other writers without citation, unquote. Oxman, an American-Israeli designer, wrote a more than 800-word response to Business Insider on social media. This happened yesterday. Oxman acknowledged that there were 4 paragraphs in her 330-page dissertation in which she correctly cited her sources, but did not place the subject language in quotation marks, which would be the proper approach for crediting the work. "I regret and apologize for these errors." And that is today's front page. And so it's one of these things that I noticed when I saw that story. I immediately said, okay, so Bill Ackman jumps up and says, hey, wait a minute, Claudine Gay is not only an anti-Jewish racist, not only does she allow racial harassment, even violence on the campus of Harvard without being able to explain it or justify it, and then clings to the fact that she indeed has been racially harassed out of her job. And Bill Ackman points out, oh, by the way, there's plagiarism. These are all disqualifiers. And so what ends up happening? Business Insider goes after her, goes after the wife of Bill Ackman, a billionaire hedge fund manager, who Neri Oxman wrote a 330-page dissertation according to a post on X, and then said, hey, I accredited the passage but didn't put it in quotation marks. Business Insider is trying to hammer Neri Oxman for that. What does that tell you? What does that tell you about the media, academia, and politics? What does it tell you? It tells you they're like this. And if you take out one of theirs, they're going to take out you. This is why people like us don't run for political office. That's why we don't complain. There's more. It's coming up next on the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. Thanks very much for joining us on this Friday morning. It is the 5th of January, year of our Lord 2024. A B-1 Lancer bomber has crashed from Ellsworth Air Force Base, this in South Dakota. USA Today reports the crash happened yesterday during a training mission. All 4 of its crew members, thankfully, ejected safely, as far as you can eject safely from any kind of military jet, according to the U.S. Air Force. The bomber crashed around 5:50 p.m. local time while attempting to land at the installation, according to the 28th Bomb Wing at Ellsworth. In a statement, the aircrew members aboard the crash all ejected safely. I'll tell you more about that coming up in just a couple of seconds. However, there is a report from one of the local television stations in South Dakota, and here it is.
We're following breaking news out of Ellsworth Air Force Base in Box Elder.
One of its B-1 bombers crashed earlier tonight at approximately 5:50 p.m. Mountain Time. According to the Public Affairs Office, the B-1 was attempting to land at the airbase during a training mission. There were 4 aircrew members on board, but all 4 ejected safely. All right, let's take a look at this picture. As you can see from this picture from the South Dakota Department of Transportation Twitter account, it appears that it was a fiery crash at the airbase. As standard protocol, a board of officers will investigate the crash. As we've reported numerous times, the B-1 bomber is scheduled to be replaced by the Air Force's new B-21 stealth bomber that is still in its testing phase and is scheduled to take flight in 2027. That's all the information we have at this time. We are told additional details will be provided as they become available.
And so that B-1 bomber, the best news of the of any military air crash is indeed that the crew got out safely. Those bombers are magnificent. If you have never seen one, I remember when I lived in Las Vegas, Nellis Air Force Base is there, and I was at the racetrack, which is adjacent to the Nellis Air Force property, and I was in one of the parking lots when one of those B-1s left under full afterburner, fully loaded. It was amazing to watch that aircraft fly, and that the crew was able to get out, which in what was obviously a serious in-flight emergency, is very, very good. A board of officers will investigate the incident according to the 28th Bomb Wing. The B-1, in case you don't know, is a long-range multi-mission and, yes, supersonic conventional bomber. This is new information, by the way. The B-1 was also touted as being subsonic, very much like the B-52. But apparently that has been, shall we say, modified over the years. It was, at least for 20 years of its service life, there were people that said, no, this is not a supersonic aircraft. It looks like a supersonic aircraft. It's powered like a supersonic aircraft, but somehow it was not able to fly supersonic. Well, that might have been some legerdemain that goes all the way back to the Carter administration. When they canceled the B-1A, the B-1A was sort of de-hot rodded and made a little bit slower, and they said that it was subsonic. Apparently, that was a little bit of, shall we say, disinformation for those people that would pay attention to those things. It has served the Air Force, by the way, since the 1980s. The United States eliminated the nuclear mission for the B-1 in 1994. The B-1 has been nearly continuously deployed in combat operations over Afghanistan and Iraq since 2001, according to Boeing Defense, Space, and Security. That is a division of the Boeing company. The original 100 have been winnowed down, various treaty obligations, etc. Fewer than 60 remain in service at Dyess Air Force Base here in Texas and at Ellsworth Air Force Base, according to the Associated Press. We want to thank USA Today and a lot of our other contributors for giving us this information as we bring you the news. We not analyze the news for fact and bias. We make commentary and we debate. You can debate with us on the chat room at Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and others. You can also call us on the telephone, 817-379-2172. That's 817-379-2172. Would love to speak to you this morning if you happen to have some time. I enjoy face-to-face or at least close to face-to-face communications. 817-379-2172. We'll be back with more of the Wells Report coming up in just a moment.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
This is the Wells Report with John David Wells. Thanking you very much for joining us. We bring you the news honestly and truthfully. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We make commentary and we debate. News analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. USA Today, among others, reporting the tragedy in Des Moines, Iowa, or from Des Moines, Iowa. A sixth grader was killed, 5 others injured when a gunman opened fire at a high school in Perry, Iowa on yesterday. Officials said the gunman was also dead of what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. There were news conferences. We have a few of these particular news cuts that we want to share with you, specifically this explainer as to exactly what happened and when yesterday in Perry, Iowa.
My name's Mitch Mortvet. I'm an assistant director with the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation. At 7:37 a.m., on January 4th, 2024, the Perry Police Department responded to an active shooter event at Perry High School. Meanwhile, Dallas County Communications was also receiving multiple 911 calls of an active shooter at the high school. Perry police officers responded within minutes. They immediately made entry and witnessed students and faculty either sheltering in place or running from the school. Once inside, they located multiple individuals with gunshot wounds. Officers immediately attempted to locate the source of the threat and quickly found what appeared to be the shooter with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. As additional officers responded, a systematic search of the school took place. Officers located during the search of the school an improvised explosive device. The state fire marshal and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms rendered the device safe. Numerous officers from multiple agencies were able to secure the school and verify no additional threats. At the same time, first responders were rendering aid to the victims, who were later transported to area hospitals. The shooter has been identified as 17-year-old Dylan Butler, a student at Perry High School. Butler was armed with a pump-action shotgun and a small caliber handgun. Butler also made a number of social media posts in and around the time of the shooting. Law enforcement is working to secure those pieces of evidence. All evidence thus far suggests that Butler acted alone. There are 6 victims, one of them who is deceased. That individual was a 6th grade student at Perry Middle School. The other 5 are being treated at area hospitals. 4 of the surviving victims are students, and the 5th is a school administrator. The law enforcement response was swift and immediate. Roughly 150 officers from local, state, and federal agencies responded within the hour.
That was indeed what was going on, and it was very, very difficult for those people to make those reports. In fact, we have another video that I'm going to have a little bit of trouble bringing to you, but just want to make that available to you here in just a couple of seconds. I have to do a little bit of computer maintenance on the fly in order to make that happen. But this killing was one of those situations that does not fit the typical gun control narrative, and sadly cost one person their life, a 6th grader of all things, and 5 people badly wounded, including the principal of the school. He was apparently caught up in all of that, and it is truly sad. Let's see. Let me work on a couple of other things here as we get going, or bring you this report. Let me get my. And once again, we had a small computer glitch. We've been working on this computer glitch for a while. It's been pretty annoying, and so we're doing the best we can on it, but we'll get this problem solved as soon as humanly possible. Let's go ahead and get back to our news article on this. Like I said, there were a lot of people that had a lot of trouble explaining all of it, and it was very, very sad to see them struggle with their explanation. During the news conference, Dallas County Sheriff Adam Infante said the shooting was first reported at 7:37 a.m. before classes at Perry High School were set to begin. Officials did not identify the student victims in the attack. The school administrator was later identified by his alma mater as Perry High School principal Dan Marburger. Police also found a pretty rudimentary improvised explosive device at the school, which was rendered safe by the state fire marshal and the folks from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. There is no further danger to the public. The community is safe. We're now working backward to try to figure out everything that happened and make notifications. Unity Point Health officials confirmed 2 gunshot victims from Perry High School were transported via ambulance to Iowa Methodist Medical Center in Des Moines. That's 40 miles southeast of Perry. The Perry is a city along the North Raccoon River with a population of 7,836. This according to the 2020 census. Thursday was the first day back for Perry Community School District's more than 1,700 students after the annual winter break. This according to the district calendar. The high school and middle school share a building. Morvet said that there appeared to be a breakfast functioning happening at the high school that included students from other grade levels. Late developments, according to USA Today, all families of the victims transported to Iowa Methodist Center and Medical Center and Mercy One Des Moines Medical Center have been reunited. This according to a statement by Polk County Healthcare Systems. Polk County Health officials declined to share further details on the status of those patients. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds, in a statement on X, said, quote, "Our hearts are broken by this senseless tragedy. Our prayers are with the students, teachers, and families of the Perry community. I've been in contact with law enforcement agencies and am continuing to monitor the situation," unquote. Life Serve Blood Center, the main blood provider to hospitals in Dallas County, said in a statement it's actively sending blood and blood products to Des Moines area medical facilities in response to the shooting. The organization urged people to donate at its locations throughout Dallas County. The shooting occurred ahead of the upcoming Iowa caucuses and not far from where Republican candidates were campaigning. Vivek Ramaswamy, a Republican candidate for president, wrote on X, "Pray for the community in Perry, Iowa this morning." Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley said no parent, student, or teacher should have to wake up and face news about a school shooting. My heart aches for the victims of Perry, Iowa, and the entire community. Staff across all schools in Perry Community School District have been released to go home. This according to a message sent on the district-wide communication system. Do not return to the building. More information will be available later. The suspect in the Perry High School shooting posted a photo of himself on TikTok shortly before the shooting. Butler also made a number of social media posts in and around the time of the shooting, according to officials at the news conference yesterday. Investigators are looking into those posts as part of the investigation. The photo posted before the shooting appeared to be of him in a bathroom stall with a blue duffel bag by his feet. The caption read, quote, "Now we wait," unquote. The TikTok post, which has since been taken down along with Butler's social media accounts, was accompanied by the song "Stray Bullet" by the rock group KMFDM, the song infamously used during or on the personal website of Eric Harris, one of the shooters of the Columbine School Massacre in 1999. So Butler, by the way, had more than 250 followers before his accounts were shut down. It doesn't seem real, as the middle school 8th grader Aiden Tunink was eating his breakfast in the cafeteria morning basketball scrimmage when he heard loud booms. One of his friends literally said, "Who's beating on the table?" Then they figured out what was going on. This, according to Aiden's mom, Andrea Tunink, telling the Des Moines Register as part of the USA Today network. The lunchroom monitor started yelling, "You gotta go, you gotta go," Aiden told his mom. He and his friends ran out one of the back doors. When he called his mom en route to the safety of a friend's house in the neighborhood, he pleaded, "Tell Macy, his sister and high school senior, to stay away." He said, "It doesn't seem real. It just doesn't seem real." Multiple witnesses also identified Principal Marburger as the suspected school administrator who was injured in the shooting. Two teachers said Marburger was shot. A father also told the Des Moines Register that he saw the principal get shot. Marburger worked with the district for nearly 30 years. When he started work there in 1995, he told the local paper, "I always knew I'd be a teacher." Originally from Sebula, that's a hamlet on the north shore of the Mississippi River, Marburger was a graduate of East Central High School in Miles, Iowa, got a degree in social studies education from Central College in 1989, as well as a master's degree in educational administration from Drake University. Easton Valley Community School District issued a statement about the shooting on Facebook. This morning, our state is grieving after learning of a school shooting that took place at Perry High School. Sadly, we've also received information one of our former East Central graduates, Dan Marburger, was one of the victims injured in the incident. We have not confirmed the extent of his injuries, so we wanted to send out a message asking for thoughts and prayers for him and his family. This is another one of these things that we unfortunately deal with here in the United States. We have yet to hear from gun control advocates on this one. Normally, It doesn't take very, very long. As a matter of fact, people are still going through the triage process at a hospital before we start hearing gun control calls and so on. It is pitiful and awful that we go through that, but this hasn't happened this time, mainly because of the apparent politics of the shooter. There seems to be some information with regards to just exactly what that guy was attempting to do or not do, having to do with his life and life choices. And so when that happens, you don't see as much news coverage. Also, the weapons are involved in that. Had this shooter been using, no, that's not what I want to do. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once badly. If the shooter had carried an AR-15, then this would be a completely different kettle of fish, but that is not the case here. And this is the state of play that we find ourselves here in America. And hang on just a minute. I'm just going to give up and just do one thing at a time, get rid of that. And then I'm going to get rid of this. Let's see, I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to do, there's a reason why I'm doing this in case you're wondering. And it's too late. Okay. So what I was trying to do is I was trying to get that video up for you on this computer that is malfunctioning, unfortunately, but I can't seem to get that done. I will try to do it after the following break, after the break that we're about to have here. So that being said, I want to once again tell you that this shooting in Perry is a tragedy. The police chief made a poignant statement that I am going to get to you as soon as I possibly can, if I can get my computer to cooperate. That being said, when we have to do these things, report these things, when you are a police chief or if you're a news communicator like I am, you have to tell these stories that are horrifying. They are nearly impossible to try to wrap your mind around. We don't know what's going on in the mind of this young kid who decided to walk into his high school and start blowing people away. We simply do not know what his issues were or are. All we can say is that they led to murderous activity and then his own death. And so now we find ourselves in a position where we have to reconstruct all of the things that were in his past life through fragments of social media and conversations with his fellow classmates, etc. And that leaves more questions oftentimes than answers. And it is horrible. And I really wish that we didn't have to deal with any of that. But once again, this is the state of play here in these United States. And that's what we have to deal with. Hang on just a second here. I'm going to be able to finally succeed, it looks like, in being able to get all this stuff done, as long as my computer does not lock up one more time. And I'll give you, let's see, do I have time? I really don't. Hang on just a second. So what I'll do is I'll continue clearing this computer, and we'll get these videos to you on the shooting in Perry, Iowa, at one of the high schools there, as we recoil in the horror that we find ourselves in, as these students and parents and teachers and everybody involved in the community has to figure out what's next, as people try to come to grips with the loss of one of their children and the wounding of several others, including the principal of the high school. This is the Wells Report. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. That's 817-379-2172. Once again, apologies for the computer situation. Thought we had this worked out, but still we have more work to do. I'll be in touch with Apple Care a little bit later on today, like I have been trying to get this all worked out. It's just one of those things that happens. It is the Wells Report. You can join us on the chat room. Many people have, as a matter of fact, as we get through this Friday. Yvonne has joined us. Linda Lee Thompson shared the broadcast with her friends. Thank you so much for doing all of that. If you can check in on the chat room, that would be very, very good. We'll be back with more of the Wells Report coming up in just a couple of moments, including we'll take a look at the 2024 election and where that stands here on the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. As promised, we untangled our technical issues and we can take you back to Perry, Iowa, where the chief of police addressed reporters and the assembled yesterday in a press conference trying to work through the details and the terribly important messages that a police chief would give to his community after a shocking, violent tragedy.
I'm Chief Eric Vaughn from the Perry Police Department. I want to thank the quick actions of the Dallas County dispatchers who handled and dispatched the calls regarding this tragic event this morning. I also want to recognize the initial officers from the Perry and Dallas County Sheriff's Office and their actions on scene. Thank you to the massive response from agencies throughout the area, including EMS, for their assistance today. It is truly amazing to see first responders work together in these crisis situations. And I cannot forget to recognize the teachers, faculty, and students involved who acted bravely and heroically in this tragic situation. Thank you to the community support we have seen and we will continue to need in the future. All of our condolences to the victims and their families. They need your thoughts and prayers. as well as time and space to process and to grieve. This community has been through tough times before and have rallied together. I'm sure this time will be no different.
That was the chief of police of Perry, Iowa, trying to come to grips with what is nearly unexplainable, if not completely unexplainable. You could see him struggling for his composure. God bless him. He had a tough day. Let's also talk a little bit more about the tough days experienced by the kids in the school. CNN had a report with Anderson Cooper and one of the students, one of the jazz band kids that had just finished up working through one of their numbers. Here's that report from CNN.
Rachel, I understand you were in the band room when you heard shots. Can you tell me what happened?
Basically, we were finishing up jazz band, and my band teacher was walking us through one of our last songs. And then he was talking to us about it. And then right when he was about to finish, we heard 4 gunshots down the hall from us. We didn't know which way, though.
Were they very loud?
We all just, yeah. Like, we, at first, like, I thought it was, like, a chip bag, but I was like, that's way too loud. And then the smell started to linger. And I don't even know how to describe that. It just smelled like burning.
Mm-hmm.
It just, yeah. And then when there was another shot that was let out, like really soon after that, our band teacher looked at us and he just goes, "Run." And like none of us hesitated. We just all got up and ran.
And we keep talking about the scenarios involved in all this. And we keep talking about how our children are worth more protection than what we have. The police had a spectacular response. There's no other way to say it. It was a spectacular response. Police arrived in 7 minutes. But once again, how is it that someone can go through, how far can you go through a school armed with a small caliber handgun and a shotgun? How far can you get in 7 minutes? Far enough to kill at least one and wound 5 others. It is terror and it is awful. And all we can do is we can hope that at some point we do something to protect these kids in schools. Aside from just saying kids ought to have a, you know, it's amazing that I keep saying this and people try to avoid these words because people will say our thoughts and prayers are with the families and the schools and the teachers and the kids. And then somebody who's trying to do something about disarming the American people, 99.9% of them law-abiding citizens that also own weapons. There's clearly another agenda there. But that being said, they immediately start talking about we need to do more than just thoughts and prayers. So people stop talking about those words. And that's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. And then, of course, the corollary of that, the converse of that is, why are these schools unprotected? Why is it even possible for someone to walk into a school with a shotgun and a handgun or an AR-15 or what have you and not be immediately confronted, taken down, etc.? Why do we not do that? And so the conversation continues, the argument continues, but the solutions right there in front of us, not disarming a law-abiding public for the actions of a very, very few, but rather protecting our children as the valuable human beings that they actually are. Obviously, this is a target. We need to make sure that the next person that walks into a school anywhere in the United States is immediately blown to Mars. Seems completely and totally logical and even believable to me, but maybe I'm wrong. Hour number 2 of the Wells Report is next.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
With eBay Authenticity Guarantee, it's checked by.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Thank you very much for joining us. Telephone number is 817-379-2172. What do we do on this broadcast? We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We do indeed de-propagandize the mainstream media, which is something that the mainstream media is in desperate need of. Wouldn't you agree? We make commentary. That is not news. Commentary is opinion, both yours and mine, and so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. It is the Wells Report. Our telephone number, as I said, 817-379-2172. Yvonne Field has joined us on the Wells Report in the chat room. We want to thank her very much for doing that. Also, we want to thank Anhoy Guzman. Cleo Marchese. Cleo Marchese is married to Angelo. And Cleo and Angelo are dear friends of the Wells family. And we have to go have dinner, Cleo. Hello? So anyway, we got to do that. And the other folks we've had dinner with and so on, including Cleo. But we just got to see the Marcheses. It's part of that. Let's see. Yvonne Field has got to go to a meeting. If I don't get back before the show's over, I hope everybody has a great weekend. I'll catch you next week. Okay, fine. I think she'll make it back. She always says that, and she always makes it back. There's a news story out here that that requires a bit of explanation. I know that other news outlets don't care about this kind of stuff, but I do. This involves the Epstein list. The media waiting breathlessly for weeks for this list, if not months or years, for this list to be released. These people associated with Jeffrey Epstein. And what we have found is that there are a lot of people that all of us know on these lists that are parts of depositions, parts of investigations, essentially court papers surrounding civil and criminal actions against some of the principals. Jeffrey Epstein famously committed suicide, apparently, in his jail cell. Ghislaine Maxwell is currently in jail. And the rest of this is the rest of this. So this list, these names have poured out of the court and into the public square. And they're being reported on. I have done so myself because it is a news story, not necessarily about the possible miscreancy of the people involved. In fact, everything that I've seen on this particular story talks about how these people are not implicated in any way except through association with the activities of one Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. There are an awful lot of people. There are an awful lot of people that will look at this and say, my God, they're awful. And we've seen all those people, but it doesn't have anything to do necessarily with guilt or innocence. It has to do with the fact that that's what people do. The reason I bring that up is because we have noted political figures, specifically the last two presidents, besmirched through accusation, denied due process, at least from a standpoint of actual judicial department, court of law, etc. And that's what's happening here with these people and their names. And so, when you turn on your news and you see Fox News, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, all these people doing whatever they can do to try to convince you that these people are monsters in some way, shape, or form, you have to step back. And you have to say, hold it. We don't know anything except that these people have been mentioned. Let me give you an example of exactly what I'm talking about here. Let me find this for you. Let's see here. I think it's this one. This is a news article that has to do with it. Or not. Let me go back to the first one. Yeah, here we go. Listen to this. Now, these are names that I will name, not because I'm trying to associate them with miscreancy, but this is the actual journalism being given to us by Fox News. Leonardo DiCaprio, Bruce Willis, Michael Jackson are among the A-list celebrities, names that appear in a trove of newly released documents related to Virginia Jeffries' lawsuit against Jeffrey Epstein's former lover and accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. Epstein had many high-profile connections, including U.S. presidents, foreign prime ministers, members of the royal family, as well as Hollywood stars, leading academics, people in the modeling and fashion industries, and other public figures. Some of the names were previously known through other means, despite having been withheld from the public eye in the lawsuit. Many of the names belong to people who have not been accused of wrongdoing. Now, let me give you an example of what we're talking about here, okay? These people appear in court documents. They were mentioned by Jeffrey and another alleged Epstein victim, Johanna Schoberg. Here's one of the names that apparently is in this list of celebrities, A-listers as they're called by Fox News, Naomi Campbell. Now, listen to how Naomi Campbell became part of this story. In a deposition dated May 3rd, 2016, Jeffrey described going on foreign trips with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, including several trips to France. On one trip to southern France, Jeffrey claimed she had sexual contact with Maxwell before attending a birthday party for supermodel Naomi Campbell. We were going to Naomi Campbell's birthday party, Jeffrey clarified in her deposition. The sexual encounter was not at the birthday party. In 2019, Campbell explained she did not know Epstein and that she had been introduced to him through her ex-boyfriend, Flavio Briatore. So here's Naomi Campbell wrapped up in this scandal, if you want to call it that, and of course it is, considering the subject matter and considering the people behind it. Jeffrey Epstein was known by many people as a pedophile, had gotten into legal trouble for it, but had so many big-time connections he escaped prosecution until it finally, the weight of what he had been up to caught up with him, ended up getting arrested, ended up going to jail, and ended up killing himself. And then Ghislaine Maxwell, who was part of that, she was tried fairly, and she's in jail. But Naomi Campbell didn't have anything to do with it except that one of the victims of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein showed up at her birthday party in 2016. That tells you a little bit about just what kind of mistakes can be made journalistically when it comes to scandal. Jeffrey Epstein accuser Johanna Schoberg spoke about Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Blanchett, Bruce Willis, Cameron Diaz in their deposition. All four celebrities were brought up during the same line of questioning, mostly in passing. None of them accused of wrongdoing, but here they are on the front page of Fox News' website. So what does this come down to? Well, I have made editorial decisions that I've been criticized for, specifically the way I handled the January 6th committee, the select committee on lynch mobbing President Donald Trump. It was an unfair proceeding. It was not even-handed. It was a political hit piece, right down to a former ABC News producer, which tells you all you need to know about ABC News. They'd rather go for drama and theatrics as opposed to truth and facts. That being said, I decided after watching it for a few days that, hey, there's no news here. The ravings of a lynch mob is not news. And so I didn't cover it unless there was something coverable. That's the decision I'm going to make here on this broadcast with this particular issue. I'm going to admonish everybody who ever sees this broadcast to keep one thing in mind. We have due process of law in this nation for a reason. We have been bombarded with scurrilous accusations after scurrilous accusations. The people making those accusations saying that the weight of the accusation themselves creates a conviction. Well, that's a nation of politics and not a nation of laws. One of our presidents was harassed mercilessly during his administration by people trying to end his administration other than the voters of the United States. Our current president is currently being chased down by politicians trying to establish some kind of graft, corruption, bribery, etc. They have compelling information in their investigations. But why are they doing it? They're doing it because the DOJ wouldn't. Why doesn't the DOJ do it? Because the DOJ practices in a nation of politics and not law. Everybody having anything to do with decision-making about the rule of law in the United States currently inhabiting the Department of Justice needs to be gone, whether by their resignation or their ignominious firing. Same story with the politicians that run the FBI. The same story with the politicians that run the DOJ, the FBI, CIA, the Department of Homeland Security, the IRS, the Federal Elections Commission, for crying out loud. I mean, it's pervasive. It is the administrative state. And now we find ourselves in a position where many of these people I just named in governments are somehow connected to Jeffrey Epstein. But what we have to do is we have to realize the point of all of this is that we have due process for a reason. I will cover this story when it merits it, but I'm not taking part in the tabloid garbage that most of the other news organizations in this nation are indeed pursuing. Let's see. Oh, yeah, and here's some more information that'll make you shake your head. And this is something that really annoyed me. Here is the USA Today headline, okay? Bill Clinton, Mar-a-Lago, Prince Andrew appear in the latest Jeffrey Epstein list release. A new trove of unsealed documents was released Thursday from a lawsuit tied to disgraced financier and alleged sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. The documents mention prominent people, including former President Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew, and include a reference to sometime around 2000 when the plaintiff in the case, Virginia Jeffrey, said she first met Epstein's former girlfriend and convicted accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, while working at former President Donald Trump's private Mar-a-Lago club. What does this mean? Why am I discussing this? Well, I'm going to tell you why coming up in just a couple of moments. I want you to keep something in mind. This is a salacious news story. It involves political figures, and it's USA Today. There are three parts of the riddle. I have the solution coming up in just a couple of moments. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Telephone number again, 817-379-2172. We'll be back with more of this broadcast in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. Telephone number 817-379-2172. So this USA Today reporting on this Jeffrey Epstein list. a list that I'm stopping my reporting on it because all it is a salacious repetition or repeat of names from court documents that have little, if anything, to do with the case. It's nothing more than scurrilous tabloid reporting, and I'm not going to do that. I don't waste your time with that here. However, there is something about this story that needs to be discussed. Right here, it says, Bill Clinton, Mar-a-Lago, Prince Andrew appear in the latest Jeffrey Epstein list release. This from USA Today. A new trove of unsealed documents from the lawsuits, et cetera, mention prominent people, including former President Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew. Bill Clinton is all through all of these papers. They include a reference to sometime around 2000 when the plaintiff in the case, Virginia Jeffrey, said she first met Epstein's former girlfriend and convicted accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell while working at former President Donald Trump's private Mar-a-Lago club. There's a problem with that sentence. She was working at Mar-a-Lago. Did she have that meet with Ghislaine Maxwell at Mar-a-Lago? There is reporting that Donald Trump threw Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. Is that anywhere in this article? Is there a correlation between the dates of this former girlfriend meeting, Ghislaine Maxwell meeting with Virginia Jeffrey? No. Why is that in that article? I'll tell you why it's in that article. Because they're trying to tie Donald Trump into this Jeffrey Epstein list, but they have a problem. The problem is that most of the people that are involved in this Epstein list really don't have an awful lot of anything to do with any reality in the case, except that they were mentioned offhand by people in depositions and in testimony. And so what do we have? Well, we have the news being used as a political tool. In other words, what I wrote on my notes for this is that, my goodness gracious, they're working so hard to tie Donald Trump to this Jeffrey Epstein list because Bill Clinton's neck deep in it. Now, once again, I'm not saying that Bill Clinton is guilty of anything. He's just another name mentioned. And, of course, is all of this propagandist effort having any success? Is it actually printing through to the people of the United States? The answer is yeah. This is a page on X this morning. This particular post, when I first went to the website, was probably maybe 8 or 9 posts down. And here's what it says. You can see it for yourself. Rick, who has an American flag, Rick right to choose freedom, blah, 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 is a Palm Beach citizen, all right? A USMC MAGA guy says this is what full-blown Trump derangement syndrome looks like. But take a look at what he says, make America great again, make America great again, indict Trump, arrest Trump, convict Trump, jail Trump. But look at these. Trump disqualified, Trump is a traitor, Epstein client list, Epstein island, Epstein client, Epstein flight logs, Epstein documents, Epstein files, Trump org, Trump is not accept, Trump emoluments, on and on and on. So here we are, wondering whether or not any of this is working. Well, it certainly has worked with Rick Right to Choose Freedom from Palm Beach County. And it works for an awful lot of other people that will swear to you that Trump is a traitor, that he is a pedophile, he's involved with Jeffrey Epstein, et cetera, et cetera. And you say Bill Clinton, and you get called a racist or some MAGA slur. People keep forgetting that MAGA is Make America Great Again. And that message isn't getting out except on this broadcast. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Coming up in just a little bit, we're going to spend some time talking about the 2024 race for the presidency. It's next on the Wells Report.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home. for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. The 2024 election is going down both predictable and unpredictable trails. The predictable ones are America's losing its mind. The mainstream media is thinly disguising its propaganda as news in an effort to get leftist politicians elected. The people of the United States are angry and divided, this by political effect and for a political reason. The fissures get wider and wider and wider. There is crime and hypocrisy in trying to enforce laws to quell that crime. So in other words, just another election year in the United States of America. But I'm getting tired of it. I'm well past all the garbage surrounding politics. I mean, I report politics because it's news. I don't report politics because I want to. What I do is this, is I point out as a commentator, this is the commentary, thus my opinion, not news, that the mainstream media playing politics, in league with leftist Americans playing politics, and against right-leaning Americans, those playing politics and those victimized by them, find ourselves in a position where this great divide keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and people are getting angry about it. And it's time for this, who is this? Okay. Anyway, it's time for all this to stop. The question is, will it? So, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley was at a town hall last night, and she was waylaid by a response to a question from last week that had something to do with what the causes of the Civil War were. Nikki Haley is not someone who can trace her family lineage back centuries in South Carolina. She's an immigrant or from an immigrant family. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is not my first choice for the Republican nomination. This according to Phil Boaz, who works for the Arizona Republic. Not a South Carolina paper, the Arizona Republic. Former South Carolina Governor Haley is not my first choice for Republican nominee, but she deserves a defense against the media, politicians, and chattering classes who have condemned her response to what was an obsolete question, which was, what do you believe was the cause of the Civil War? And then Phil goes on to say this is a question relevant and say, 1870. It doesn't make much sense in the 2024 presidential election. He's completely correct in this. Haley did not answer the easy question, which is slavery. Well, because if you're raised in the South, there are an awful lot more reasons for the Civil War than just slavery. What you have to remember when it comes to warfare, when it comes to conflict of any kind, the propaganda of the victor becomes the history of the vanquished. And this was brought into sharp relief here. What was the primary cause for the Civil War? Why, slavery? No. Economics, more than slavery, but slavery a part of Southern economics, and just plain real wrong, a crime against humanity. Slavery is awful. It's handmaiden. Racism is likewise a crime against humanity. And apparently that's what Haley was trying to get through. She was trying to get beyond slavery and get to where it actually applies to today's politics. We don't have slaves anymore. We don't have slave owners. And so Phil Boaz points out that she served up hash. She said the cause of the Civil War was basically how government was going to run the freedoms and what people could and could not do. The Democrat Party jumped all over it saying, my God, it's vile. It's not vile, it's hash. And then Phil goes on to say, hash born of fatigue, too much time under the glare of scrutiny, with 1,000 slick operators waiting to pounce on every mistake, just like this one. It was obvious that Haley didn't anticipate the question. Who would? She didn't want to step in any traps, so on the fly, she tried to fuzz it up to give a politician's classic non-answer to a question whose point she couldn't comprehend. She answered as if she believed it was a trap and wasn't sure what it was. She wasn't going to hand her enemies a sword or a sound bite, but she did. The non-controversial answer, slavery. She didn't say it. This led to stories in national newspapers on par with Martians landing on Capitol Hill. Then came tut-tuts from Republicans and Democrats. My God. In short, Phil Boas says we're watching racial politics play out again in America. If you want vile, racial politics is vile, says Phil. Phil, great job. I appreciate it greatly. I do. But now what do we have here? Well, we have to say a couple of different things. First of all, the Mason-Dixon line, crafted before the Civil War. Some people, especially now, say that that was the real reason for the Civil War. No, that was not the case. There was plenty of slavery north of that Mason-Dixon line. And indeed, the first Republican president realized that this was a blight on this nation, a destructive one that was going to lead to its demise, and worked to end it. But he also had to work to keep the Civil War from permanently disfiguring this nation, to protect the Union. And so, something he believed in personally, that slavery was a crime against humanity, just like I do, and realizing that the entire South economy was built on slavery, it's a no-brainer. The Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 was probably one of the very serious death blows to the Confederacy. Good. The Confederacy was a mistake. But there was a lot more to that war than just slavery. And the propaganda of the victor becomes the history of the vanquished. And if you are raised in the South, you actually hear that story. And of course, I point to little things like, okay, where's the largest chapter of the Ku Klux Klan in America? Where is it? Well, it's Birmingham, Alabama. It's Meridian, Mississippi. No, it's not. It's in Illinois. That's north of the Mason-Dixon line. Plenty of slavery north of the Mason-Dixon line. Propaganda of the victor becomes the history of the vanquished. Just a couple of things to keep in mind. So let's get to what another issue that was a lot less controversial, that had to do with Nikki Haley discussing just exactly what she was talking about on the campaign when she had some good-natured ribbing for the people of Iowa and the Iowa caucuses while she was in New Hampshire. This was on CNN. And this was from the town hall meeting last night.
I want to ask you about something you said at a town hall in New Hampshire. You talk about the importance of New Hampshire and Iowa. We're here in Iowa. But you said about the primary process that while Iowa goes first, New Hampshire, quote, corrects it. Oh, my gosh. Ron DeSantis said that was incredibly disrespectful to Iowans. Of course he did. And of course, we are here in Iowa. I'm just looking around at people's faces. Okay, so is there anything else you'd like to say?
Look, we have done 150 plus town halls. You got to have some fun too. So we're at this town hall. We had 700 people in New Hampshire. We're cutting up. And yes, I said that. But keep in mind, I'm from an early state. South Carolina always knew that Iowa's going to be the first caucus. New Hampshire's going to be first in the nation. And South Carolina wanted to be first in the South. It was a pact. It's still a pact that the three states, at least on the Republican side, had, that we were going to keep that. But we banter against each other on different things. New Hampshire makes fun of Iowa. Iowa makes fun of South Carolina. It's what we do. So, I mean, I think the problem in politics now is it's just like too serious and too dramatic. If we're having fun, I don't live, eat, and breathe politics all the time. I like to have fun too.
Yeah. In that we have a lot in common, Ms. Haley, and thank you very much for Governor Haley. Thank you very much for bringing that up. And that's a good point. Also on a town hall that occurred slightly before the town hall from Nikki Haley was Ron DeSantis. And Ron DeSantis had a great night. He absolutely had a great night on that town hall. This was some of that also from CNN.
If you become president, what is one aspect of President Biden's leadership that you would hope to emulate?
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Look, we've got a myriad of policy differences, and I think the results have been very, very poor. So I think on the policy, you're going to see differences. I'll tell you this though, we had a hurricane hit, Category 5 Hurricane Ian in Southwest Florida. Some of you know because some of you have been down there, and it devastated Southwest Florida. It knocked out a bridge to Pine Island. It knocked out the causeway going to Sanibel. We had millions and millions of people without power. Now, we had a great response. We had everyone lined up, quickest power restoration in history, search and rescue, all these things. Democrat in the White House with the media who would love to do it. He could have tried to politicize it. And I'll give him credit. He didn't try to politicize it. I think when you have situations where there's national tragedies or disasters, trying to politicize it doesn't work. You got to put the people first. And I will notice with respect to the media, the national media, they were down there. They wanted to make it an issue politically. I mean, I was running for re-election. That's what they wanted to do. When they're asking and people are saying, oh my gosh, they had all these rescues. All the power went on in record time. We even rebuilt the bridge to Pine Island. People said it was going to take 6 months. We took control of it at the state level. We rebuilt it in 3 days. Once they saw, the national media saw that things were going well and that people were appreciative of the response, you couldn't find national media outlets in Florida if you had a search warrant. They did not have a story. Their story was to try to create conflict and to try to demean the response.
Okay, so that is the best that Ron DeSantis has ever looked. There is no doubt about it. Ron DeSantis has indeed done himself a very good service with that particular response. Now, not to be outdone, Donald Trump is still involved in this, and Donald Trump has a new ad that, strangely enough, takes shots at Nikki Haley. This is it, and you can judge it for yourself.
Record numbers streaming across our border, costing taxpayers billions, and almost as many Americans killed from fentanyl as killed in World War II. Yet Haley and Biden oppose Trump's border wall, confirm warnings of terrorists sneaking in through our southern border. Yet Haley joined Biden in opposing Trump's visitor ban from terrorist nations. Haley's weakness puts us in grave danger. Trump's strength protects us.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
And so now we're getting into the actual meat of the election year. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is a very, very good thing. I think it's pretty essential that we get to the point where suddenly reality becomes, well, okay, reality. Now, this is something that Chris Christie, as we round out our look at just exactly what's been going on with this. This is something that Chris Christie put out regarding a mistake that he says he made in 2026.
I have an admission to make. 8 years ago, when I decided to endorse Donald Trump for president, I did it because he was winning. And I did it because I thought I could make him a better candidate and a better president. Well, I was wrong. I made a mistake. And now we're confronted with the very same choice again. Donald Trump is ahead in the polls. And so everyone says anyone who's behind him should drop out. And we should make our choice Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. Well, Joe Biden has had the wrong policies, and Donald Trump will sell the soul of this country. Neither choice is acceptable to me, and it shouldn't be acceptable to you. You see, in the end, the most important characteristic of any candidate for president of the United States is what's in here. The most important thing is character.
And so, You have people
This special
now
coffee.
actually doing the things that they should be doing, which, by the way, is getting to the meat of the issue and actually making statements that can be considered. Now, are these factual? Well, no. No, they're not. They're people's opinions. But we cannot make this decision in 2024. We cannot make it without communication. That people will absolutely ignore something. It just happened a moment ago. You know, one of the people on the chat room said that Phil Boaz is a conservative commentator and blah, 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 blah. And I asked, well, did you actually hear what he was saying? And then he came back with, I'm a subscriber to the Arizona Republic. And I go, did you actually hear what he was saying? The answer is no. We have to stop that in these United States, or this mess is going to be successful. It's going to get us.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. We started this broadcast by talking about the pitfalls of biased or irresponsible journalism. To end this hour, we're going to return to that, again, under the auspices of what's called America's newspaper, USA Today. I have an article here that is not listed as an op-ed piece. It's under the heading Democracy and Elections. Here's the headline. Trump dictator comments raise questions about democracy. Here are 5 guardrails if they hold. Riley Beggin, Angel Latham of USA Today. Now listen, I don't have a lot of time, so I'm gonna have to comment as I do this. Normally what I do is I do the news and then I comment. But I don't have time right now. So I'm going to go to the opinion camera, and I'm going to give this to you because there's going to be opinion all through it because this is biased. It's inaccurate, and it looks more like a hit piece than a piece of serious journalism, and you need to know about it if for only example. This is how this article starts. First paragraph, upper left-hand corner. As he seeks a second term in office, former President Donald Trump has indicated he plans to dramatically expand the power of the presidency and upturn Democratic presidents. He has done nothing of the kind. He hasn't talked about expanding the power of the presidency. He's talking about using it. He's talking about using it as a chief executive would in any corporation where there were malfunctioning employees. And then, of course, they want to upturn Democratic precedents. Democratic precedents. This is where they blur the difference between democracy and democracy. Democracy is Democrat Party orthodoxy. Democracy is where people come together and make decisions as a group. Two completely different concepts. Paragraph 2. Trump says he may use the Justice Department to go after political adversaries. Said he would use military force to stop demonstrations, migration at the southern border, and would likely flood federal government with loyalists more willing to support controversial policies. At one point, Trump declared he would be a dictator for one day if reelected in 2024. He would use the Justice Department to go after political adversaries. No, he wouldn't. He would use the Justice Department to go after criminals. If you don't think that there was criminal activity during the Trump administration, specifically lying to the FISA court, then you have no business writing this article. He would use the military to use military force to stop demonstrations. No. He'd use military force to stop riots. He was wondering why states that were watching their major cities burn, being looted, the attempt of blinding police officers and burning them to death in their police stations, how come the National Guard wasn't called out? That's not his call. That's the call of the governor. Why didn't the governor call those out to stop those riots? Because the powers that be wanted those riots. Because it happened during the Trump administration. He would say he would use military force migration to stop not military force, but he would, oh yes, she does. They say use military force to stop migration at the southern border. I have news. I have been a part of the military force to stop migration at the southern border. It's happening right now. The southern border should be closed. Fentanyl ring a bell for either of you people? No. He would flood federal government with loyalists more willing to support controversial policies. How about this? Is the federal government, you answer this question, I'm not going to do it for you. Is the federal government flooded with anti-American, shall we say, subversives willing to support socialist policies? My answer is yes. At one point, Trump declared he would be a dictator for one day if reelected in 2024. Yeah, to do two things. Close the southern border and start drilling for oil and natural gas. This is why journalism needs a complete overhaul. This is why I do this broadcast. I'm not making any money with it, okay? I'm not. I mean, aside from like $50 a month from Patreon, I'm making no money. But in this house, this broadcast is important enough for me to do it for nothing. Not because I'm just ed up with it, but because somebody has to do a fair job at real journalism, and there are a few, but they're not enough. And so I do it. This is a USA Today hit piece. against President Donald Trump. You really ought to go to USA Today and check it out, because there's this stylized Russian propaganda style piece of art with Trump's face on it. Very reminiscent of Stalin and Mao and Kim Jong-il and so on and so on. Right down to this very disturbing chin that's been drawn in on Trump's face. My friends, it's okay for you to believe what you want to believe. It's okay to base those beliefs on what you choose to base your beliefs on. But at least make sure that you base your beliefs on truth. This has been the Wells Report. See you Monday. And so what do you think? All right, so there you go. Friends, I want to thank you so much for being a part of the broadcast, as always. It's been sweet and wonderful and nice and incredible, et cetera, and I'm sorry about these computer glitches. I think I'm beginning to nail down exactly what's causing it, but I'm going to go back to AppleCare and figure it all out. Cowboy, even though we disagree, I want to thank you for your participation. I'm not trying to be a jackass, but I do want to make sure that there is some, you're providing me with somebody else's opinion. I'm simply providing you with that same give and take. Okay. Don't take it personally. I'm sure you're just fine. I do take issue with some of the things that you say. And once again, you still haven't answered my question. Did you get what Phil Boaz was trying to say? See, that colors your credibility. And while I don't have a problem with your credibility, if I did, I wouldn't be talking about you. But just keep that in mind. I'm trying to share some things that I learned the hard way. All right, that's all I got. God bless you and yours. Take good care. Have a great weekend. Get some rest, and I'll talk to you on Monday. Until